We go. Welcome to the Load Management Group Chat Podcast, episode number 6. Zine BP will be joining us momentarily. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling a little bit better than I was last week.
Facts.
Saying like just having to get, like it's like should I be on social media? Like, man, I need to detox from it. I need to put it down. I need to just focus on other things just to keep my mental right. But yeah, man, let's get right into it. We showed up at the Black Lives Matter rally that was youth led on Friday. Had 10,000 people. I will repeat that again, 10,000 people at a Providence Black Lives Matter rally that was created by Rhode Island youth, which was absolutely amazing. There was an amazing speaking program, and it was nice to see that young people took the initiative to create this march, and it went off without a hitch. There wasn't any like violence or any BS that happened. Everybody came, they were heard, and most of everybody got home safe. So and I really want to salute them, fellas. I'm gonna open it up. What did you guys think? How did you guys feel about about the march?
Keep it a buck. Listen, I don't know. Like I said, I wrote in my caption on Instagram. It was just something for the soul. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was so inspired. I was so moved. I was touched. The energy was just crazy. Everybody was like determined and passion and just a lot of unity. And honestly, you guys know, like, I have my sunglasses on, but I'm just looking around because I always wear my sunglasses to block my eyes so I don't look a creep just staring at you. But I was just doing a lot of observation, and it was dope to see people who don't look like me, by the thousands, by the way, just as passionate for the cause, just of my intentions there as well. It was dope. I wanted to be part of something. I didn't want, 10 years, 20 years from now, when this is brought up in history, that I just sat home and, was nonchalant about this whole situation. We've been having great dialogues in this podcast about it, great dialogue in the group chats about it. And just being in the position that I am, I wanted to experience it. And that was my first protest. And I'm glad that was my first protest or anything of that type of magnitude. It felt good to be part of. And then not for nothing, man, it felt good to be part of there with my brothers, man. You guys being there, you know what I'm saying? That's something that, forever, we're always going to be linked to that, who you go with, you know what I mean? And I'm glad I got to share that with you guys.
No, I'm with Z, man. Like, that this is history. Like, we hear about all other protests, like, growing up. And it's like, I feel like this whole situation this year is history. And like, just to be a part of that, to experience, to feel it, not just to say that, like, I watched it on TV, like I was out there front line and like, we were like standing up for helping to be a part of like a change that like, I feel is a huge step forward to like changing the whole trajectory of how people view Black people. Also shout out to those children, man. That was dope that like, kids got 10,000 people out there. Like, they're very well spoken. They knew what they were talking about as far as like, what the message they wanted to get across. And it was like a 14-year-old girl, man. That takes I don't think at 16 I will be able to talk in front of 10,000 people. Even now, I don't think I'd be able to do it. So imagine, like, her at 14, like, probably how nervous, how anxious she was. And she articulated herself very well. So I forget her name, but shout out to her. She did her thing. And
I just remember Woonsocket.
Yeah, when she's from Woonsocket. Yeah. And I was talking to one of my guys. He's actually on law enforcement. And he just wrapping it up with him, he just told me, like, yeah, 10,000 people there, and no one was arrested. There was no fights, and that's kind of what you want to see. Like, we want to get our message across, but we want to kind of stay positive at all times. And just to kind of end on that, like, It's just great, man. It's just great, and I just hope to keeps rolling.
Mm-hmm. So
Now, Jiggy, I know this is your second one. Can you give us a little comparison with the first one and this one, and maybe some differences? I know the first one was your mom, so I ain't trying to, but just what you seen.
I would say that the first one was a lot smaller. I don't think that there was like as much lead up to it. This one felt more like a moment. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the best way I can describe it. Like there's probably like 9,000 more people at this one. You know, the speakers were more organized, although the speakers at the first march were really good. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to a guy we all know, Nadeem, you know what I'm saying, who's a youth coach for football and basketball, gave a really impassioned speech at the first march. But this one was just beautiful to see. I think it was because there's so many youth. It was like March seemed a lot younger. Honestly, like, you know, we're all pretty much fully formed adults in this podcast, and it's good to see people that are young, that are more energetic, that are more open to change, that are more tolerant, that, you know, that they see this as something that they want to be committed to and be committed to change. So I think that was the main difference.
Facts. And I just like the diversity in the crowd, and it was signs galore. Like, I felt terrible not bringing a sign. I'm like, damn. But no, I really appreciate you guys letting me know about it and letting me participate in that. But like I said, it was just more of it helped my soul, because like I said last week, I was really not down and out, but just like, damn, questioning a lot of things and a lot of people. To see that, to experience that, to know there was no violence going on. Everyone was respectful. Couple of a guy in this chat, you know what I mean? This podcast made the TV, like, you know what I mean? So, made the news.
We was all on there too. That's the funny thing.
Oh, we was? Oh,
yeah.
damn.
The person that sent this said that they saw me and you first, and by the time it was Dot and Ant.
Damn, I can't front. I wish they had DVI. I need that pic too. That's historic right there. Dot's gonna be able to, you know, show his baby girl that, like.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Like when you have, like, exactly, like when you got kids, like you just want to, and you're talking about this year, and and George Floyd comes up, because he's another person that's indebted in history now. Like, he's part of Black history. And when we're talking about George Floyd, and, like, you know, our kids are asking us, like, what happened and what was it like? And you just got that stuff to show them. Like, listen, I was a part of this. I was there. I marched. And it was just, I think it's better. I'm really happy that, like, you know, we all went, because, like, we see everything on TV. We hear what the media puts out there, whether we want to believe it or not, whether it's true or not. It was just it felt good to be out there and experience it yourself, so you could see, okay, maybe I can see how this may have happened, or no, they said this was happening, but look at what really happened. So that was the most important part for me.
Right. I agree with that one.
Yeah, like, you know, even when we was leaving, like, the march, we was talking about, like, yo, like, Sean, you're gonna be able to show your daughter when she's at, you know, when she just saw the sound, they talking about local history. You be like, oh, my dad was there. He told me it was lit. You know what I mean? Like, there's a picture. I gotta have my dad or mom send it to me, but there's a picture of me on my dad's shoulders at the Million Man March in DC. So that's just like, you know, that's just something small. It's like, you know, but it's like a memory that, like, you know, that you think about when you think about a million Black men in Washington, D.C. Yeah, man, we'll have those memories. But so now that we've been to the protests, we're showing that we're invested in seeing this issue continue on. What are some things that you guys want to see change that you feel like are realistic, and what are some ways we can achieve that change? And that was a viewer question. Shout out to my guy 2 Pennies for sending that one
in. Go ahead, Dad. My fault.
So next steps, we just gotta, like, you know, we gotta keep awareness. Like, why I'm be realistic. Like, not every weekend gonna get $10,000 people protest, but, like, you know, keep informed, like, you know, hold people accountable. That's the biggest thing. If we don't hold anyone accountable, nothing's going to get accomplished. And I say that to say, like, there was always a big question. Like, I think every time something that happens in the Black community, when it regards to, like, you know, something being unjust or a Black person at the hands of police brutality, it's always like, all right, we're going to protest for a week. We're going to talk about it for a week, and it's just going to fall on deaf ears. This time, there wasn't like that. Like, there's been so much conversation, so much change. And I think it's like, we have to keep that up. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I've never seen, like, around the world, people are protested for the lives of, like, you know, Black people. Corporations, I work at Brown. My job is just having, like, today we had a town hall meeting just to, like, kind of go over, like, how we're going to bring everybody back in the fall. And they were taking, like, a Q&A, and, like, all of the questions it wasn't even about COVID. It was like what's going on about the anti-Black situation that's going on. Like, how are we going to reflect this in the Brown community? What conversations are going to be had? And it was like a beautiful thing to see. Like, people want to keep this conversation going, and we're putting pressure on businesses, on schools, on communities, on environments to have these tough conversations so they can finally understand where we've been trying to come from for all these years. So, like I said, just to go back to it, keep everybody accountable, keep awareness. And if something's not right, like I'm not saying, like, go out there and be crazy, but don't be afraid to speak up and educate someone that may not know something. Like, a lot of the times, there's definitely racism, but a lot of times if you can explain and if you don't just brush it off and you articulate yourself, like, that's why this isn't okay, you may be able to help somebody. You may be able to change somebody's perspective or point of view.
Yeah, no, it's so funny about the accountability. So I'm on my laptop while we're doing these podcasts because, you know, I got to be educational on here, make sure I'm fact checking. But anyway, something popped up. It says New York lawmakers vote to, you know, repeal 50A. So Cuomo, the great governor who's doing a good job in New York City, you know, he loves controversy, has vowed to sign legislation making police disciplinary records public, you know? So these are the little small changes that we're doing. I know Minnesota, they're going above and beyond about dismantling the policies in their police reform. You know, police reform. LA's taking notice. New York's taking notice. So it's just all about continuously, like Dot said, continuously this message. And even like something similar I had to coordinate last week, which was I had so much anxiety. You guys know I was talking to you in the chat about the community circle with the faculty and staff, which is predominantly white staff, led by an African-American myself, an Asian woman, and a white lady whose sexual preference is females, so lesbian. And we're leading this dialogue about everything with George Floyd. And that was refreshing to see, you know, 24 teachers and staff, a lot of crying, a lot of tears, a lot of this, but at least expressing themselves that they wanting to learn and just giving them books on how to handle this situation, but mostly looking inwards and holding each other accountable, holding systemic racism accountable, holding each other accountable. Watch how we talk to each other, watch how we treat each other, the prejudiceness, and just seeking out. So we just got to continue growing, because one thing I do not want to stop, and even if I have to be that annoying guy in social media, posted every other day, whatever the case may be, everything that we worked hard for these last 2.5 weeks, I need that to continue. So in my little small pocket, I'm going to continue pushing that narrative, continue pushing that what we need to do. And hopefully it's just a trend and it just continues all the way to November. November, vote, 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 vote. And that's what I'm just going to keep promoting.
I'm with you on that. And for real, like just to go back to that word accountability, like I'm seeing so much stuff of racist comments, racist people being exposed, they're not getting fired, they're not able to attend college.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Beautiful thing. Like we have to. We can no longer. And sometimes my daughter's godfather, one of my best friends, Anthony Weeks, we went to a predominantly white college. We went to Wheaton College, and sometimes when we would walk into certain parties, we never felt like they didn't want us there. But what we kind of struggled with was, depending on what song is going to come on, or depending on how drunk someone is, we're going to hear that N-word tonight. And there will be times where we would get, and rest in peace, my brother, Brian Johnson, he was part of it too, but we would always get so angry and we feel like we would have to check these people. But then sometimes we would like say, damn, so we just going to be doing this all the time, every weekend? Like, we can't get mad at everybody that's saying it, but like I'm disappointed in myself that, and now I'm learning that, like, you know, if I could give somebody else that knowledge, like there's a way to do it. Speak up for yourself. You do have rights, and let's keep it going. Black lives do matter until they know, because there's never a term, there's never a slur that a black person or any person at all can just openly walk and say, and it'll be okay, and it'll be looked at as, oh, you're just being cool. So Black lives matter until they realize that we are on the same level as everyone else. So that's what I got to say.
Facts. That's a Fendi fact.
Beautifully said, gentlemen. I guess I'll just talk about some of the things that I've been thinking about, talking about in the group chat, talking about, talking with amongst colleagues and friends. I like a few bullet points that I want to just touch on in terms of like how we're going to move forward, just in my mind. I think that we need to keep the focus on anti-blackness. You know what I'm saying? And understand that the things that we're going through right now in this great nation is just anti-blackness. You know, it's not about, it's all minorities, it's all people of color. No, we're not there yet. Right now, we're focused on anti-blackness. Keep the focus narrow on that. A major reason why I think we're seeing so many sweeping changes is, first, is the violence and the civil unrest. What I saw is that, yes, like I don't so much agree with the looting, but I saw that once, like, Minnesota tore shit up. They burned down police stations like that. I've never seen nothing like that before. So when your opposition knows you're willing to take it there and bring it to their front step, they're more like apt to be like, all right, cool. Like, let me try to meet them in some kind of middle ground. And that the violence is what brings the attention. Like, we know that the police, that the justice system is just systemically broken, but it takes an actual murder to get people's eyes on that subject. So just like, we've been protesting and trying to push legislation and push candidates to do X, Y, Z, it actually took violence and looting to get real attention and eyeballs to the to the Black Lives Matter in a real way. Then also you have to understand too is that funding. So now there's a big move to like defund the police. So now when okay, these people they're not scared of us because they want to get violent with us, and they're gonna come after our funding. Now, you know what I'm saying? Now they feel pressure. You know what I'm saying? There's real pressure applied when we're talking about violence and money. Then lastly, I would say we can't get co-opted. What I mean co-opted is, if you guys are students of history, you know that the 1964 Civil Rights Act was explicitly supposed to be for Black people, and over time has been co-opted by every other minority group, women, just women, period, not Black women, not Spanish women, not Asian women, women, period, and also the LGBTQ community. Now, I am in solidarity with all those communities. However, we need to keep the eye on legislation specifically for Black people. And
absolutely,
I'll say this: we all work for this man. His name is Todd Flaherty, very, very smart man. And he told me off rip, no money, no mission. So people have to put their money where their mouth is and support causes that they feel strongly about, support candidates that they feel strongly about. No money, no mission, no results, period. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where I am with it. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that.
Nah, I agree with all that, and especially the money aspect of it. Like, the difference now, and I know we're gonna hop into it a little bit later, but wherever the money goes, policies goes, action goes, steps goes, and I say that to see, you know, something locally like that Allie's Donut and you know, that supported Black Lives Matter, got a lot of black backlash from it, and still opened up and still successful. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, the owner of Amazon, putting all these people on blast that are showing their true colors. All these teachers, like Dot alluded to earlier, that's getting fired with their racist posts. I don't want your fake apology. I can't lie, that's something that's burning my soul. Like, no, you originally clicked that post and send of your true feelings. And then when you see that your thought process is not the majority no more, and I think that's what we're coming to now, you look crazy speaking out on something that your eyes is telling you. And at the end of the day, right is right, wrong is wrong. And that's why I have no issues with these people losing their jobs and putting on blast and, you know, want to hide afterwards. Because at the end of the day, any walk of life, any profession is going to be bad people. And unfortunately, a lot of them is getting exposed, AKA Jake Fromm, AKA, regardless of what he said afterwards, Drew Brees, Dabo Sweeney, the list goes on and on. The teacher that scared the little girl away, the lawyer that spit in that black little kid's face and then, you know, got reprimanded for that. The other, you know, teacher lawyer, the one that told that girl in the gas station to go back to your country. Like, this is people true feelings. And honestly, for a long time, and you guys know me, especially when I had my whole OJ analogy, I didn't care what people think about me or saw me as, but to know that people in their head really like look at me, you know, downwards, and not me specifically, just my skin tone, my race, whatever, it's disheartening. You know what I mean? And it's like I said, it's frustrating. And, you know, African Americans, we are just so forgiving. We move past stuff. But I like what you guys said. No, we're keeping the pressure. I don't even know if this is appropriate to say, but I was gonna say on their necks, but you know,
you're not saying that.
you know, yeah, you know what I was, you know, the premise I'm trying to get at. You know what I mean? Like, we have to keep that the pressure, return that on their necks, and making sure that these policies do happen for African Americans. And Josh, I'm glad you said it, because not for nothing, they try to say blacks, and next you know it, this comes in, this comes in, this comes in. No, it starts here, and once we're on that evil plane of equality, then we can move on. You know what I'm saying? Then we can get there. We just got to continue sticking together as a community. And this is something, unfortunately, George Floyd's life, you know, sparked all of this. And you know, not for nothing, from a distance, don't know the man, but I'm so appreciative of him, and I think he deserves all the praise that he is getting.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's a legend in my eyes, because like you said before, like for like the people like the OJ debates, and like you've grown and you've learned from it, and it just kind of even made me like, you know, you could go with the I don't ever see myself ever going again with like, if it's not bothering me, I'm not gonna address it, because
Right.
I feel like if everybody does their part, or if I do my part, that's gonna help the next person not have to go through something that maybe I can handle a little better. You know what I'm saying? So just think just always constantly, like, I'm not saying full-fledged war on white people fighting, but if you see something or unjust that you don't like towards, like, you know, anybody, it's specifically speaking because we're black people, like, you know, address it, like, you know, educate, correct. So definitely that's how I'm gonna try to, like, you know, live my life moving forward. And it was just I'm still a young man, and just this whole thing that's been going on, it kind of opened my eyes a little bit about how I can kind of do my part from like a small scale.
Absolutely. So guys, just, you know, a topic that's been in the news, in the national news, local news, is defunding the police. What do you guys think about that? How do you guys feel about that? Do you think that's an actionable item? Do you think it's something worth pursuing?
Yeah, it is. It is. And when people say defund and disband, they mean that. I saw some posts on Facebook and some posts going around that people think that means like it's gonna be ran by a community, like Neighborhood Watch is gonna pull a gun on you and tell you to stop. Like, no, it's not what that means.
Now
So
we ain't promoting no George Zimmermans over here.
yeah. So if
No.
you look, I think Josh dropped this in our chat earlier last week. If you look at the budget for the police force around the country, it's like not even close how much money's funded towards the police force compared to things like education and healthcare, and just kind of like defunding them. You won't necessarily take all of their money away, but you can put some of that into education. So for instance, in the state of Rhode Island, Providence is not doing very well as far as the school district aspect. So we can kind of put some of the money towards that to help with better resources, help give these kids a better opportunity, because we do want kids to go to public schools. We want kids to stay in the community, and we want kids to stay in our community, in our state, to make the state better. And it starts from homegrown. So definitely stuff like that. Numerous amounts of people need healthcare. If we look at Central Falls, they were one of the hot spots for COVID-19, and that tends to be kind of one of the poverty-stricken areas in Rhode Island. And it comes from a lack of resources to healthcare. So maybe that's something example of that could help. And kind of, Josh, when you dropped that information, I kind of did my own research. So Camden, New Jersey, a few years ago was known as like the murder capital of the world. And they disbanded their police force. There was no more police force. So what they did was they started going with the method of like county police. So they weren't paid as much as like before, like the state police were, or like the city was able to pay out. But because you were able to pay less, you were able to put more police out there, being able to patrol more areas. So if you pay less, you can hire more. And that and the statistics showed, and was recent as I want to say 2011 or 2013, that their crime rate and interactions between police and civilians, it kind of went down. The murder rate went down. So that's the only place to do it to date, but they had success with it. And Camden, if you know anything about Camden, it's wild. A lot of crime there. Yeah, it's wild. So
yeah, like I said, I think there's a lot of just nonsense out there. What do you mean, no police? What? Like, people have straps, and it's just like, no, it just means allocating that money, that the budget that the state gets annually, and how you disperse it. And I think if you want more successful kids, you start with the education. You start with their school buildings. You start with funding youth programs and youth sports and facilities and stuff like that. So it's just like, I get it. And I think why they're going that route is, at the end of the day, they get paid, taxpayers' money paid for their salaries and where all this money's coming from. And it's kind of frustrating to know that I am paying somebody who, when I call or need their protection, I have a 50-50 chance of living or surviving or going to jail or being scared. And I think that's where a lot of the anger comes from, that narrative. But people take that and trying to strip it down as just A, B, and C. Oh, get rid of it. No, it's more of, this is our goals with it. This is what we want to do. If these legislations ain't going to change, or the police reforms not going to happen, or the way your tactics or sensitivity training or educating training for the cops, we're not just going to give you all this excess money where we can use it for our schools. And Providence is just a great example of, look at, no offense, Hope High School, Mount Pleasant, Central High School. These are prominent urban schools who right now are obviously academic-wise are not succeeding, and obviously just building repairs is just not exceeding expectations as well. One of the best schools in this whole New England, Classical High School. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's an example of, we have a lot of urban kids from socioeconomic disadvantages that can come into place and be the shining light, but the funding's not there, the books are not there, the resources, the technology is not there. So that's what defunding means in that regard, of just disbursement of that money and how it's allocated and how it's taking over the state budget. So I think it's a great idea. And obviously, when you start saying that word, cops are going to get sensitive to it, because you're talking about how they feed their families. And I definitely understand and respect that. But then once again, I think it'll go hand in hand in how they start acting and moving forward. So just a chain reaction.
I agree with Kazim.
Oh yeah.
I agree with Kazim because, like, you know, if you want to rebuild the city and if you want to see a city prosper, like I said, it got to start from within. Like you want, and I'm not, that doesn't necessarily mean because you have good resources and a good school system that necessarily means you have to go to college. So I'm not saying that, but you want every opportunity and every resource out there because the goal is you want kids in your public school to be educated, to have every opportunity possible so they can go out there, they can get certain skills, they can get certain resources, and they bring that back here and they build up the city. But I kind of wanted to I was talking to Zima about it yesterday, Josh. I don't think you tapped in when I FaceTimed him, and I kind of want to get your feedback on this and kind of what you think about this. So I was talking to somebody in law enforcement, and I was talking about the whole defund the police, disband the police, like, you know, topic. And what he said to me was, 90% of basic, to not give too much information, where the money comes from, it wouldn't affect anything. It wouldn't affect salaries. What would happen isn't, and I don't want to misquote, but he said that this recent class of police that became police in the city of Providence was the most diverse class in like history. So he said, if you defund the police, what that leads to is that just knocks out that 20% that are new police that are diverse. And then when you're the person that's been on the force for X, Y, and Z amount of years that may have, like, you know, their beliefs that are you're never going to change, that their high salaries that stuck in stone, like they're going to stay. You're just taking away the opportunity for the people that could potentially be the change. And I kind of understood where he was coming from with that.
So I would say that I'm definitely sensitive to the fact that, you know, we have seen that they have been hiring more minority officers. So I guess that's a good thing. But we talked about it last week, and, you know, I talk about it a lot in the chat. It's really the language of defund is a negotiation, which some people take it one way and some people take it the other way. So we're on one side. So I'm saying, like, we can't score we have a better chance of scoring a touchdown from our opponent's side of the field. We have to be negotiating on it, like, from a position of strength. Right now, there is some momentum for that. So defund the police doesn't mean fire any police officers. They don't need the riot gear. They don't need all the tactical stuff, like those tanks and all that stuff. Like, and the thing about it is Rhode Island, I think that it will be a small bite. What we're talking about a lot of times is the larger, bigger cities that have all this extra stuff that they just don't need. Like, I don't want to fire anybody from the police that, you know, that doesn't have violations and isn't doing their job the wrong way. Maybe they made a couple mistakes, fine, it happens, you know what I'm saying? But what I will say is that if you defund the police, what happens is you stop turning people into criminals. Whereas, like, let's say Zim growing up in Chad, he got caught with a little bit of weed and now they want to run through the ringer and bring him into the system. Whereas there won't be the emphasis to do that anymore. You know what I'm saying? And that changes a young Black, Spanish, Asian, poor white kid's whole trajectory on life. You know what I'm saying? And what they're able to do without that arrest record, without that felony on their jacket. Also, defund the police just means that we want to spend resources on the front end and not the back end. The back end is the police, law enforcement, judicial system, jail, right? We want to spend money on not just the academic piece of education, but making sure that there's an abundance of school counselors to deal with kids that are having issues. Making sure that there's money for social workers so they're not so overworked that they can't properly handle their cases, and that kids aren't slipping through the crack that are being abused mentally and physically. You have to look at the circumstances that creates criminals. You know, like, Doc, you feel what I'm saying? Like it's never gonna be a perfect system. So there'll be flaws, even if they defund it and give us everything that we want to see. And at the end of the day, there's going to be criminals, but we can do a better job that we are doing because the current system is not working for Black people. Period.
And that's kind of what he touched on too. Like it was just like certain stuff that he believes, and this was from a Caucasian man. Certain stuff that he believed is targeting, is profiling.
Yeah.
So, for instance, like you're stopping someone because they have a tent. You're stopping someone for like the most absurd reasons because I forget. I should have wrote it down when I was talking to him yesterday, but he used certain terminology that police have that give them like that they tell themselves as a reason as to why they can stop you. And he's saying more so that like, you know, he believes like it would make it a much easier shift for the police and it would make a much better relationship for controlling or supervising society as if you see someone doing something that's a harm to themselves or harm to society. Like, what are you really getting out of like, you know, stopping somebody and over a tent and that escalates into something else because like, you know, if you're a different kind of man, you know, I was giving them a story. So I'll give you guys a quick story. So I used to go to the fitness factory in North Providence. I had silver Honda, I had yellow New York plates. Every time I would leave by Citadel Square, every time I would leave, I got pulled over. And then after that, didn't get a ticket. Multiple police cars were coming. And then after that, I got stopped 2 more times on 2 different occasions. So that's a total of 3 times by the same police officer. The third time I asked the police officer, I said, can I ask you a question? Why do you keep pulling me over? Like, and you're not finding anything. And so I just want to know. And he was honest with me. He said, to be honest with you, it was because of the license plates. And I was like, I could respect that. At least you're telling me the truth, whether it's the right thing to say or not, at least you're being real about it. So imagine that. So if I'm a different kind of person, if I'm, you know, my personality, I'm non-confrontational, I'm laid back. But if I'm a different person, I'm like, why the fuck you keep stopping me? Excuse my language. And I'm combative. And then that cop feels disrespected. And then we have a situation.
Yep. And that's how most of them escalate. Just just ego on top of ego, pride on top of pride. I just always like to tread lightly because it's just, all my experiences with cops, it was just like, yo, relax. Like, why you so amped? Like, and then they get even more infuriated when they don't find anything. Yeah. Like when I'm so quick to be like, hey, like I gotta go. Like, what are we doing here? And obviously turning that corner around Chad Brown, I get it. Maybe I don't know. It's just like I said, it's just tough, man. And honestly, they come to the job with the wrong mindset. They need to come to the job with, I need to protect, serve, and help the people. They come with, I need to find, seek, meet quotas, meet this, brag to my colleagues back at the station. I was able to do X, Y, and Z. I don't know what it is. I wish I really know, but they're really a gang. And you guys know in street gangs, you just want to be down. You just want to be affiliated. You don't even know why you're part of it, why you're going to war with those other people. But regardless, whatever BS they feed you in that, I'm just street gang or even in the cop gang, you're just all for it. And they go out with that mentality because, man, I got so many, I can go over countless and countless of times where I'm just like, yo, you're lucky you have that badge. I don't know what I can do. Like, I don't know what I can do, how I can do it, but I wish I could do it just to let you know that, like, you're really not that guy. You're really not in. I don't know.
It's tough. It's tough because you see yourself as an adult. I won't even say man. And I couldn't go up to you randomly in the street if I felt you was doing something wrong, and I couldn't tell you to shut up. I couldn't tell you to. I couldn't ask you, what are you doing here? I couldn't. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? You would look at me like I was crazy, but that badge and that uniform, acceptable. And so I kind of went over that with who I was talking to, and I kind of said, like, I just feel like it's a control thing. It's like an ego thing. And even though we did have that conversation about, so he even talked about like when you don't have if your car's not registered, and certain police will say, all right, I'm going to issue you the ticket, but I'll let you go, but you need to get that done. That's correct policing. He says what he doesn't agree with is certain police officers that will probably not even in the same state. They notice it's not registered or something like that. They're towing your car and they don't even care if you got a way to get to the tow place.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm happy that you're saying these things. And he said, so I was like, what's the change? And what he said to me, which I kind of made me think as well, and Josh, if you want to touch on this after, he was like, everyone says the police, and I do blame the police. There are very bad police out there, but he says everyone says the police, but if there aren't any tickets or if there's certain quotas aren't made, the judges start asking questions, and that's what no one sees. Like, for everyone carrying out something, there's something coming from above, and if we don't issue a certain amount of tickets, if a certain amount of money's not being made, we hear from the judges, we hear from the government.
That's crazy.
And like, that's why I say, like, you know, when we talk about good cops and bad cops, you know, guys, I have my thoughts on that. You know, you guys don't necessarily agree with me fully, but what I say is, like, it's not even so much the person in the uniform. It's the job you carrying out. If you are a cop for 20, 30 years, the nature of the job and the nature of the system that you're enforcing, it makes you do things that you probably wouldn't even normally do.
Right.
And like, and then it's like, it's just like any other job, right? So Zine, when you was an advisor at the Crusade, you weren't as wide-eyed and enthusiastic in year one as you were, you know what I mean, in year 5 as you were in year 1. Yeah, get up again, deal with these kids. Like I'm not feeling the pay, I'm not feeling this, I'm not feeling that. So now you take it to a position or a job where lives are at stake. You know what I'm saying? Where you know what I'm saying, someone's life, even if it's not like a big shooting, but you can really affect somebody's life the way you write up a report. You know you know, so it's just like that. Like, so while you're the person you're talking to, I understand that, like, yo, there's sometimes stuff you have to do because somebody above you is saying it. But that's why I always say it's not so much the person that's in the uniform, it's just the uniform. Because,
right.
Because they're like the enforcement arm of the system. It's just like it's just like the human body. The brain is telling you to knock somebody out, so you swing. It's just the way it is. So listen, every person that's a police officer is not a bad person. You know that. You know what I'm saying? There's so many people that are just viewing it as like a good paying job. They want to clock in at 7, get out at 3. They want to do a detail on Saturday night and make it home to kiss the wife and kids, and that's it. But it's just the nature of the job because of the way that legislators and the judges and the system wants them to carry things out. That's how I feel.
Facts.
So guys, like, you know what I'm saying? I've been loving the fellowshipping that we've been having in the chat and on this podcast about this topic. So I'm gonna move us a little bit in a different direction, but still kind of like the same one. NFL issues a statement saying that they were wrong on race and wrong to stop the players from protesting. Is it too little, too late? How would Cap feel? Should they try to bring him back? Is it too late? Should they try to give him a position in the league? How do you guys feel?
I'm gonna keep it a buck. If I'm Cap, I'm all set with the NFL. You know what I mean? I understand that's your passion. I understand that you trained your whole life with it. But if he returns, it's just, oh, they only got him because, you know, let me give him a token appreciation, like whatever the case may be. It won't be valued. And he looks like a very prideful person where he wants to know that he earned it. And any way you slice it or dice it, people's going to misinterpret it. Oh, he only got that position because of what he did 4 years ago, whatever the case may be. I thought he deserved the job, 3 years ago. The NFL to me is a little bit too late. And unfortunately, NFL is run by money as well. So when you see these big endorsements, these big corporations saying, no, Black Lives Matter now, when you see I can't lie, the video that Michael Thomas, I don't know if you guys heard the backstory about how that whole video got put together. It was somebody in the NFL communication guy.
Yeah,
NFL put on some
young white dude.
Yeah, put out some bland statement. He said, nah, this isn't sitting right. He DM'd Michael Thomas like, hey, could you get some guys to do X, Y, and Z? Because you see Michael Thomas is very passionate about it. And Michael Thomas got Saquon, Odell, Patrick Mahomes. So, like, the NFL cream of the crop. And at the end of the day, the NFL is 74% African-American. There is no best sport in America off the backs of blacks. Basically, like, you just got to keep it real. And they had to go this route when you see your best players say, like, nah, we're done with the BS. We're not having this no more. This what needs to change. And it's so sad that those guys didn't do that 4 years ago when Cap was doing it. You had some real ones, or Eric Reed, the wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins, Kenny Stills, so on and so forth. And they lost a lot of money. They lost a lot of rep during that time, but they stood on the right side of history, and I appreciate them. So if I'm Cap, I'm like, F the NFL, F being a backup QB, F trying. I feel like his legend is growing more off the field, and I would love to see him do more off the field stuff. And, you know, forget the NFL, man, for real, for real. Even though I got an NFL jersey.
Yeah, I've always felt that way. Like, I always felt like, yo, Cap was done wrong 100%, but I always felt like, man, like, you're making a name for yourself without the NFL. Why would you want to go back to something that clearly doesn't, like, you know, want you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even though, and I get it, like, he should have equal opportunity as every other person. That was the most unjust thing ever. But like Zim said, I think now is just like they did it because their hand was forced. It's like I see you doing it, I'm gonna do it. It's money dominating. Like, you got all the top people in the world. Black Life Matters. Like, you know, we support, we stand with black people. And then now all of a sudden, after he did his tryout, he wasn't good enough to get a job. Then he supposedly didn't say the right things. But now after this, he gets a job. It would just look real phony. I think he should just stay away. The only way I would go back is if, like, you know, they grant me they would have to grant me like the heftiest of heftiest contract, one of the top QB guys, and I'd have to have like a real standing chance to be able to be the starter for that team.
Facts.
Yeah.
What you think, Jiggy?
I'm kind of with you guys. So I remember, like, when we used to have these arguments in the past, and people were like, oh, he's not speaking, he's not talking. And I always thought the best thing that he did was, if you notice, that first year he kneeled, he did speak in press conferences and said how he really felt, and that he didn't trust the American political system. That, you know, and he explained thoroughly why he was kneeling. Then he explained why he was sitting. Then he explained that he spoke to Nate Boyer, the U.S. veteran that was a football player. Yep. Well, he convinced me to kneel. And the fact that he had done all that, you know, the fact that the guy reached out to him, he said, okay, I'm gonna listen to you, and I hear your concerns and why it bothers you, and I'm gonna change the way that I'm doing it. And the white guy really appreciated it. And the white guy went on to all these TV networks and said he was doing it, but it was too late because it never pays to be first. You know what I'm saying? He put himself out there, and he put slings and arrows. He lost his living. You know what I'm saying? He lost his passion, his love. So the owners during that time were saying things like, oh, we can't let the inmates run the asylum. And Jerry Jones is talking crazy. The owner that died, the Houston Texans,
yep,
crazy. A lot of owners are talking crazy, and he never said anything. He just stayed quiet, and you stay quiet, and you let people telling themselves, and you just keep doing the work. So if I was him, I wouldn't come back either. Especially, the thing is, like, Malcolm Jenkins said that, you know, the NFL does need to formally apologize to Colin Kaepernick. That probably,
I agree with that.
Yeah, but that probably won't happen. But then again, I give Malcolm Jenkins a little bit of credit, because I feel like he low-key kind of sold Colin out with the whole Players Coalition thing. And that's why him and Eric, listen, hold on. That's why him and Eric Reed had smoke. You know what I'm saying? When they saw each other. So I think that Malcolm Jenkins, you know what I'm saying? I think Drew Brees' statement kind of like brought him back and said, maybe I did things a little bit wrong. And it was big of him and important for him to kind of make amends and say, nah, the NFL needs to, you know how when someone dies and they say his name, say her name, the NFL needs to say his name, Colin Kaepernick, but they will never do.
Yeah. I think right now, like a couple of things I was reading up on, I think legally, because he still has that lawsuit against the NFL, they can't be out there open public forum, Roger Goodell in a promo commercial admitting that they was wrong, aka lose that case. So I think not back in the NFL, but I think that's why, as of right now, they can't formally do it because Colin does still have that open lawsuit against them. So just have to tread lightly. But listen, Cap, not for nothing. I know people want to slice and dice his background, how he grew up, whatever the case may be. But I will always remember him to be on the right side of history with this whole thing, regardless of bringing us to the forefront and taking a stand and sacrificing, you know. And that's why I was happy when he got that Nike deal. I was happy when I see the CEO of Twitter sending him $3 million for his cause and his foundation. Forget the NFL. At the end of the day, I'm always going to be an NFL, you know, fan. I'm not going to stop watching it. I'm not going to sit here and stand here and play myself. But I know what it's built on. I know what its deep roots is. And at the end of the day, you know, NFL definitely displays a lot of racist tactics in how they treat their players, their hiring process, the GMs, the presidents of these organizations. And at the end of the day, these are a lot of old white men who grew up, probably had freaking slaves in their houses growing up. Like, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, we just got to keep it real. So they're stuck in their ways. So we just got to wait them out and we'll just see how it goes, man, moving forward. But at the end of the day, big money takes little money. Big fish taking small fish. And right now, I dare Jerry Jones to come out and say, you know, something stupid like he did 4 years ago in regards to standing and kneeling, because he'll lose AT&T. He'll lose, you know, all these big corporations that fund that billion-dollar playpen. So I dare that guy to say something. And he, as you can see, he's been hiding and not vocal. So he's playing his cards right, and that's the power of the people. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, we run this culture, man. I'm telling you, people don't understand. We built this country. We could tear it down. Everything that you like, music, sports, clothing, style, the way you talk, it's from us, man. So you got to start giving it just due and respect, man. So bump the NFL. I'm with Cap. My jersey's coming in Amazon, man. Shout out Jeff Bezos, man.
So seeing as how the NFL, you know, a completely, except for one team, white-owned league treated, you know, a young black man, there's been a lot of talk in the news about a California recruit by the name of Mikey Williams, who's one of the top players in the class of 2023. I think ESPN released their rankings today, and he was the third-ranked player in his class. He said that he wants to go to a HBCU. You know, and this is always something that's been talked about. You know, should prominent black athletes go to an HBCU? Will it happen? Is it feasible? So this has been getting a lot of buzz. He's trying to convince some of his some of the other top players in the nation to go to an HBCU with him. How do you guys feel about that?
Man, it's a good question. It's a good topic. It would be nice to see, and I think, like Carmelo said, all it takes is for one guy to change it. But with that, you have to understand it's a big sacrifice. It's a big sacrifice. And Josh, like, you know, you being a basketball coach, you see in certain schools, you could kind of talk to it. So a lot of the black colleges, they're in the conference, is called the MEAC. And if you've ever visited, like, you know, some of those all black colleges, athletically, that's what helps, aside from like the development of a basketball player, what attracts the kid to go to your school is the facilities,
Yes.
the gear. It's gonna be tough for Norfolk State to compete with the athletic facilities of a Kansas. It's gonna be tough to compete, Morgan State to compete with a Duke. It's tough. It's tough. Like, you know, they're basically those, some of these bigger schools that these kids are, like, you know, able to go to. It's like the pre-NBA. Like, you going into this nice, like, you know, hallway, you got this nice living room, you got the works, you got Gatorade at your expense whenever you want to take it. You got a different pair of Kyrie, KDs, Jordans. You got all this gear that I don't think right away certain all-black schools will be able to necessarily provide. And another thing that I want to bring up is, like, you know, as far as, like, you know, development, a lot of basketball programs in all-black colleges, they get their funding differently. They don't have like a Nike or an Adidas to help front will help fronts the school, which help fronts to like assistant coaches salary that makes like six-figure salary. So are you gonna get this? Are you gonna get the same people or the same trainers that are gonna help you develop your game to get you to that next level? But then on the other side of that, if that kid Mikey Williams goes, is that his name, Mikey Williams?
Yep.
Yeah.
He goes to like one of these all-black colleges, and, like, you know, it is a success. He could be the crusade for like maybe a Nike or Adidas or Under Armour will start, like, you know, putting that funding towards that school because they're funneling kids, you know, and it could maybe like for instance, like the Fab Five, when they went to Michigan, they started that whole black Nike sock thing. That's a like, you know, that's advertisement. That's like, you know, free promo.
Huge.
Kind of start something like that makes it like all right, we'll see what you're doing. Like, we can sell this, we can profit off of this. Maybe that can change it, but that's just kind of how I saw it from like both sides.
Z, let me jump in before you go.
Yeah, because you guys are the basketball experts.
Right.
You know, you coaching high level, Dot playing high level. I only started 5 games at Hope my varsity year, so I'm gonna let you guys go.
So, Dot, I wrote down some things that I think would be the necessary steps in order for that to happen. I think the first domino to have to fall would be, I forgot what school it was, but Mo Williams took over HBCU. Or
Yeah. It was it's in Alabama.
Alabama State. Yeah. So it would take a coach like that who has, you know, who played high major, played in the NBA for years, has the relationships with the NBA people, and then he coached AAU and the EYBL, so he has a relationship with all the Nike reps, or the Nike people, and the college coaches. So that would be the first step. But I don't know if you can do it at Alabama State. I'm thinking it have to be like a Morehouse or like a Howard, I think.
Let me just step in for a second. That's a great point you bring up, because Norfolk State, I follow college basketball heavy. Norfolk State's always at the top of the MEAC, and their head coach is Juan Dixon. And he, Maryland, so that's a real good point.
So that's the first thing. Then the second thing would be you have to get in good with some AAU coaches. Either A, bring them on the staff, or B, if they don't want to leave what they're doing at AAU, because there's AAU coaches making crazy bank, so I'm not gonna leave this. You take VP.
Oh,
my
VP.
fault, fellas, man. My fault, fellas, man. They got a little hectic, man.
It's better late than never, brother.
We glad you here.
Yeah, what that shirt say, BP? What? Let me see. They want
our culture, but not our struggle.
Yeah, we're talking about that right now.
We're talking about it.
All right.
So you would have to get either AAU coaches or program directors into your, you know what I'm saying, on your bench. Then you have to get the kids first. You get signed commitments from 3 to 5 top 50 recruits. Now it's lit. Now, what you said with like Under Armour or Nike or whoever coming in, if I know I got like, I'm not talking about just like a typical number one, but I know if I got a John Wall coming in, because like Nike been watching these kids since they was in middle school. If you know like a Kevin Durant a LeBron, a John Wall, an Anthony Davis type, Melo type kid that's going to that school, you're like, all right, now we're gonna sponsor them. We want them wearing nothing but Nike. Like how like you talked about the Michigan Fab Five with the black socks. To even update it is the Kentucky team with John Wall, Bledsoe, and all them made elite socks pop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and Nike made millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars off. They were charging $25
for them elite one pair. Yeah,
one pair.
Color. Yeah, you need Bobby. You remember that you needed to have the matching one for your jersey.
Oh yeah, I had blue, white, black.
And just to kind of lob this up
blue.
to BP. So B, just to kind of lob this up to you. So we was talking about like, you know, Mikey Williams, and he's saying that he wanted to take that step and possibly attend the HBCU as for his basketball career. So you're a basketball coach, right? I think sometimes, like, you know, at Juanita Sanchez, and some of the biggest struggle is like you're a phenomenal coach, you have a phenomenal staff with like, you know, Duda, Mark Alexander, but some of the issues is sometimes is like, you know, getting kids into the school because it's tough to compete with. Why am I going to go to Juanita Sanchez when I can go to LaSalle that's going to have like better facilities, or Hendricken? So how do you feel like you get kids to like, you know, make that next step? Like, I'm going to go to Norfolk State and I'm not going to go to Kansas. Like, what do you think needs to happen?
So I think when we're talking about those high level recruits, I think the biggest thing is, again, you got to build that relationship. I think I just heard Josh speaking on it. You got to build that relationship first with the student athlete and then with the family. You got to make them feel comfortable. You got to make sure that their talents is fitting into your system. Kind of have a vision for what you want or how you see them fitting into your system. But when it comes down to it, you got to be realistic with the kids. Like, not every kid is going to be a high major level player. So it's different when we're talking about high school and college. When we're talking about the high major level kid in college, I think it's difficult for a lot of these, I won't say low majors, but the HBCUs. It's because we all know that these schools are paying. It's what it comes down to. LSU's paying. Like, we all saw the what's the documentary that just came out with
The Agent. I know what you're talking about.
With The Agent, you know what I'm talking about? Like, these schools are paying. So now we're going. Are we looking for a legacy, or are we looking for a payout? You know what I mean? And a lot of times, where these recruits are coming from, if you're from a middle class family, money may not mean as much to you. So you're looking at, okay, where can I build a legacy? Where am I going to be part of something bigger than myself? Where am I going to be a part of a alumni organization that's going to take care of me on the long run? But when you're looking at kids that are more from like lower income communities or families are a little bit less well off, it's difficult when you have, again, these big name schools chopping at the bit who are throwing you hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. So I think it's really what you're comfortable with and what your status is before you even enter into your school or your recruitment process. As far as Juanita, again, it's just tough because, again, we go in Providence alone. We have Central, Mount Pleasant, Hope. Well, Hope just dropped down to D2, so they're a little bit on the same level. But it's just difficult because we're a smaller school, predominantly Hispanic, where 78% of our student body is Hispanic. So that's a tough sell for somebody who
El baseball, el beso, el soccer.
You know what's crazy? Our baseball team. You would think our baseball team's nice, but we're mediocre. But I would say probably our best sports team is probably track. Which is weird. I won't say it's weird because we have a great staff over there. Shout out to Eric Clinton, who does a great job with those kids. We actually just had a girl that came out of Juanita that just got a scholarship, Howard Greer, who's going to PC next year. So shout out to her. Shout out to everybody at Juanita. My fault again, fellas, jumping in, so I'm a little bit off.
That's all right.
No, you good.
You're Gucci. And then just to wrap up, Mikey, I'll say this. I love his premise. I love his idea. I think he was in the moment of everything that's going on, and you know, stick to my own and the whole support Black-owned businesses. And I think that was his. Well, listen, Mikey.
Mikey is not going to HBCU.
Yeah, it's okay, Mikey.
He's
I
not.
know you don't know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's okay, Mikey. Like,
yeah,
because, you know, 3 years from now, people are going to try to hold it against him. Thank God, hopefully he is that type of talent that can just go straight to the league so he doesn't look like a hypocrite or whatever the case may be. Because at the end of the day, I feel like if he does go, like, because he gets a lot of weight. But shout out to Mikey because I found him out just through social media. He is another marketing genius. Obviously, his skill set backs it up as well, but his following is immense. And I don't want him to feel like he has the burden to have to be the first or try to be the first. And if he is, God bless him. And I think Josh and all you guys articulated all the benefits that come from a big school, small school, and a lot of decisions. So I wouldn't be here to judge him just looking from a guy on the outside of that basketball world.
I think Mikey, though, like with that being said, I personally don't see him going to an HBCU, but I think with his style of play, his size, his stature, I see him, he can be like a very good player in that league. I can see why he would entertain that premise of maybe trying to see what an HBCU would look like. But end of the day, if you're a top 50 recruit, I just don't see it happening. And again, if you're coming from, depending on where your background is or what your social economic background is, again, it's like, are we going legacy or are we going, what's the bigger picture? Am I going to go to LSU where I'm going to go to the league? Because no matter what, we can't guarantee, again, I'm saying this because, again, size, stature, being a 5'9", 5'10" point guard is a lot different than being Imani Bates, who's a 6'9" point guard that does everything. You know what I mean? So there's a huge difference in just the type of player and the play style. So do we see a Imani Bates going to an HBCU? Hell no. And that has nothing to do, it's not a slight to an HBCU. It's just bigger programs, more marketing, it's better for your personal business ventures in the future. So
he kind of followed it up, and he kind of took his tweet and he posted it on his IG, and he gave like a few paragraphs. And so Mikey Williams, BP, if you missed, he's number 3 in his class currently.
Yep.
He plays with LeBron's son. He's active at LeBron's house, so he has LeBron backing him. And his biggest thing on Instagram, when he kind of explained what his tweet meant, he's like, a lot of kids need to understand, like he understands that, for instance, if you're like a tweener, like you may be a top 100 kid, you probably can't go to that MEAC school if you're trying to get to the next level. You kind of have to, like, you know, go to the right program that's going to put you in the right platform. But as far as someone in his situation, he came more so with the mindset, if you're a pro, you're a pro. It doesn't matter where you go. And the reason why Kansas, a UNC, a Duke got their name is because of the players. So, and I agree with you saying 110%. Like, if someone saw somebody was able to got an offer from Duke and ended up at Norfolk State, they would think, are you drunk?
Something went wrong, yeah.
But I think, and I don't want to put pressure on him. I don't think the kid needs any pressure, but it's going to take for somebody, like it's going to take, like Josh said, it's going to take for a solid 5 or a solid 7 to be the crusade, to just do it and just experiment when that's the only way we're ever going to know.
Imagine him, Bronny, Ja.
Yeah, and Josh, you got to realize too,
also,
Josh.
I'm sorry.
You got to realize too, Josh, that you notice too, Josh. You notice, man, so don't even cap. Like, if he go to an HBCU, Mikey Williams, and the talent that's around him, he's not going to respect them. He's not going to take it serious. He won't.
But so like, before you even brought the LeBron thing up, I was gonna be like Bronny would be the perfect test case for this scenario, right?
Yeah.
The thing is that Bron never went to college, and he hates the college system so much, he's gonna try to put his son in the G League instead of college. So let's say Mikey Williams, Bronny, a couple other guys say, all right, cool, we're gonna go to this HBCU. There's like, let's say there's a new Fab Five, right? So then you have the Fab Five. Then you have the guys that are already there that there are, like, you know what I'm saying, there's some decent players there, you know what I'm saying, not the top flight guys, but if you bring in 5 top kids and then that knocks your starting 5 completely down to the bench, now you have a good enough team to and so the thing is, like, it's never going to be perfect, so we can't let perfect be the enemy of good. And then Bron has the backing with, like, Bron could, like he could go to, like, you know, whatever school and be like, hey, I want this guy coaching. I'm gonna make sure Nike gives you guys a $6 million sponsorship budget so you can fly all over the place and have the right uniforms and have like, it has to be the right situation at first. And then once one school does it, and if they can sustain it and get a decent amount of guys every single year, or at least every other year, then another school in their conference can do the same thing. Because if you're a black person, a lot of these kids go to school, and yeah, like if you go like a North Carolina or a big state school, you're always gonna find that black pocket, that minority pocket that you're gonna chill, hang with. But I'd rather be at the HBCU where it's lit, there's parties, there's frat life. You know what I'm saying? You're around people that look like you, think like you, and grew up like you. So there's benefits, and then yes, the facilities and the training, you know, is something that needs to be worked on. But I wouldn't mind learning from a Juan Dixon or a Mo Williams instead of a Coach K or a Roy Williams. You know what I'm saying? Different strokes for different.
I hear that.
And BP,
but I also feel like there got to be a certain type of kid that's going to a HBCU. Like, you're not gonna, if you're a one and done type of kid, you're not gonna go to a HBCU. If you're a system player, or like you're top 7, or you're in your like 50 to 75, or just outside of that top 100, then maybe you're a type of player that could go to a HBCU. But if you're a player that's one and done, it's going to be very difficult to convince a player that already has in their mind that they're going to be at this school for 1 year and already going to the league, that they're going to go to a HBCU, turn that around, or even have a chance to win at a high level and even raise their stock when it comes to being a high draft pick.
I think that's what Mikey was saying. That's what Mikey was saying. He's just basically saying, like, if you that guy, no matter what jersey you put on in front of me, you're going to get to that level. So his premise is, I can go to HBCU, and you right in the sense of, you're going to benefit that school for 1 year, then you're going, who's going to follow you afterwards? But he's saying, I know my skill set. I'm betting on me. I'll get there. Let me help my, people out. And I think that was his premise. That's why I said I love his idea, but I don't want him to feel obligated to be that person. You know what I mean? Because I feel like the original statement was just in the midst of everything that's going on. And that's why I appreciated Mikey even having that, coming out with that statement. And the NBA players backing him up. You know what I mean?
The closest we've seen it, a situation like that, I would say would be John Morant at his school. Like, that's the closest you've seen it, where, like, I don't know if you guys watched him play at all, but they didn't have like the prototypical, like, team that would be able to go out there and compete with.
That Murray State team was solid though. I don't know.
No,
he made that.
Do that.
That center was like
the big man was about 6'2". BP, the big man was 6'3", probably 6'3".
Come on, Dottie.
Yeah, but I get your premise.
6'6" and D3, Dottie. Stop.
but that's what I'm going to say. But like, if you go watch the tournament every year, the playing 20. And you see NCC's made it for the MEAC the last 2 years, or even Free State. Just look at their coaching staff. And it's not a shot. It's just the facts. The suits that the coach is wearing, the jersey material, and then you go see Kansas's.
Right.
You see Jay Wright.
The warm-up jersey's better than the sweatsuit. You know what I'm saying? Come on, Josh.
No, but that's what I'm saying, Doc. Like, I think that, like, you know what I'm saying? It's not an overnight thing, or it's a situation where a LeBron James would have to bring the Nike apparatus to the And I mean, to be honest, like, look at Ben Simmons. He didn't care about college. He's like, yo, listen, because everyone knows pretty much who's going to be the number 1 pick before the season starts. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not much in college that goes on that really, like, you might have a guy that'll play himself into the second round, or a second round guy that'll play himself into the first round. But everyone knows who's gonna be like the lottery picks for the most part.
But Ben got that bag too.
Yeah, but but he went to LSU because his godfather was the.
But he also got the bag.
But he set up LSU.
He said, yeah.
But like no big recruits really going there before Ben went there.
And now they're regulars.
Right.
Yeah.
Now they're regulars, exactly.
So everything has to start from somewhere, and I think that if Mikey Williams is thinking like that as a freshman, if he's thinking like that, he might be just like Jalen Brown went to Cal. Now Cal's a high major, but nobody goes to Cal. He went from Georgia to Cal because he's like, oh, this is a great academic school. You know what I'm saying? Whereas now that the socioeconomic part of basketball is changing, where it's more of a upper middle class sport, and like now parents are like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? They might be, how a kid's parents might want them to be with a guy that grew up like them in the country, or a guy that's that grew up like how they grew up in like a big city, so you can trust your kid with this person because they have the same morals and ethics as you do. Why should that be any different from a black parent that grew up a certain way and wants their kid and they want to entrust their kid's future to a school and a coaching staff that looks like and thinks like them? You know what I'm saying? And
that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? It's so many variables.
That's really what it comes down to.
And trust me, bro, like I've been in the nitty gritty with this AU thing. I know how nasty it gets. Trust me. But it'll happen one day, maybe. But if it does happen, I'll be very excited to see it happen.
Yeah.
Facts.
All right, so I'm gonna move us to our next topic. Fellas, the NBA. You know what I'm saying? This chat gets very animated around NBA. Money changes hands during the playoffs a lot of times. Thank you, Kazim.
Lakers in 5.
You know what I'm saying? Lakers in 4, baby. You know the vibe. Come on, BP. But I want to say to you guys, are you excited? And I mean, obviously we're all excited, but what's your level of excitement? And let's make sure that we tell our viewers, do not get distracted by sports. Enjoy it, but make sure you not get distracted and lose sight of what's really, really important out here right now.
Fact.
I'm gonna leave it there. Who wants to pick it up?
I'm excited. I'm more curious though. I'm intrigued to see how the game is gonna look without fans. How play-by-play is gonna be with as far as like in-game action. I feel like they have to add some kind of background noise. It's gonna be like an empty gym. Like you hear everything in an empty gym, from the shoes squeaking to play calls to coverages to the players talking shit to each other. So it's like I'm intrigued by more of the production aspect of it. Is it going to be as entertaining as we usually see it, because we're used to, again, the adrenaline of the crowd being there, the noise of the crowd. That brings a whole added dynamic to the game that I think us as viewers from our couch kind of take for granted. So I think that's going to be important. And then my next thing is just the whole setup. I like a lot of the things that they did with the NBA as far as rules, how they set it up with the schedule. And I'm really just excited. I want to see my Lakers do it, man. I'm just glad that they're gonna, at the end of the day, there's gonna be a 2020 champion. I just didn't feel like sports would be, or the NBA would be okay with just ending the season where it was, and I'm glad that we're coming back.
Yeah, yep. But I think they said they're gonna put the 2K noise, so you're gonna have the 2K sound effects for the crowd. So random, I watch randomly. I turn on the TV and I'll see WWE, and it's still, there's no fans, but it's still entertaining them. So I figured if I could get entertained by WWE and they're just fake wrestling, I think NBA would be able to. I'll be all right with the NBA, watch a little basketball. Yeah, no, definitely excited that there's gonna be a champion. I'm just excited to argue with you guys about who's chips and who don't perform in the playoffs, and who the champion gonna be. That's gonna ignite the chat in a different way. Like, I'm excited for those talks to get arguing with Kazim about how he shouldn't value Westbrook as, everything. I'm just happy. I can't wait for the end of July, and we get it all the way up until October. So, let's go. I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like I said, just the animation in the group chat, the passion in it. Honestly, I just want to see it. I don't care about no crowd. I always said it too. I don't watch the game to look at the crowd or, I get it for the players. It might be different, but no, I'm focused on the commentary and what my eyes are seeing. And I do love everything that Adam Silver's doing, just trying to salvage the season. And just trying to listen to the players, listen to the coaches, listen to all the health experts as well. Shout out to Disney for letting them use that magical place. And at the end of the day, let's just get it. And one thing I don't like, no matter what, I'm not, buying into this year as an asterisk or anything like that. If you win this chip, you earned it. Because there's nothing like having a huge layoff like that, then getting back into the swing of things. And this is why I didn't like that whole tournament thing. I do like 8 games, and we're going to go regular 7-game series, and you're still going to have that duration of it. So let's just get it, and I can't wait for it to start. And I know it's around my birthday, so I feel like I'm doing a party with, NBA locked in. This is my first time ever, so I'm excited in regards to that.
Zim, I got a question.
Quarantine.
What do you say?
Zim, I got a question for you.
What's up?
Do the 2000 Spurs get an asterisk?
Nah. My thing is, I'm more focused about the regular season. To me, is just where you put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Develop chemistry,
that.
whatever the case may be.
That.
When you get to the playoffs, if they did anything shortened with that, then I'll be like, oh, this is too gazy. That's why I like Michael Jordan. Yeah, I know. Because he got 5. LeBron got 3 because remember 2012 there was only 50 games. They started December 25th in his first title. So you can't start once the playoffs are 7 games. Everybody got rest. Everyone's healed up. There should be no load management no more. Kawhi should be good. PG's good. Clippers.
Kawhi's not playing in the first 8 games, bro.
Nah, he needs to. He needs his
rest. He's still load managing.
He got to. He got to. Jiggy, how excited you are? The Lakers are gonna lose to the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals.
Out of here.
I'm not worried about the Clippers at all. At all. I just think that I'm interested to see how it's gonna look. I'm interested to see who stayed in shape and who's fat. I got my money on Joel Embiid's gonna look like a black Pillsbury Doughboy. I think he's gonna look crazy. I just think it's gonna be like a weird champion, man, that no one's thinking about. I'm telling you, it's gonna be like something weird, like the Houston Rockets, the Utah.
Please, no.
Like that.
Because of Westbrook. Yo, God, what bet do we got? What bet do we got? Do we got bets on this players?
Yeah, you said Westbrook would never. Oh, no. That ended because you said Westbrook would be a champion in OKC.
No, you said,
I paid that.
Paid them $5.
Yeah,
500. That was just, yo, I'm not gonna lie. That was just,
you was sick.
The stupidest bet you ever made.
That was no. Hold on, there was another bet that we had though for this year.
No, it was. He makes it out the first round, right?
It was something. I forgot what it was.
I don't know. We might have to go to the screenshots. I mean, I'm willing to take all bets on Lakers. I got money. We can do this.
So I have a question. Are we going back to the East-West format, or are we going through the 1 through 16?
I thought it was gonna be 1 through 16.
Nah, it's East-West, no?
East-West.
See, because I'm gonna be honest with you, when I was looking at the 1 through 16 format, if we do it that way, our Lakers got a real easy road, bro.
Right.
The difference, the East and the West, the West is just a juggernaut, bro. With even we got Utah, who's one of those teams that can be a shocker team. You still got Denver. You still got Houston. You still got the Clippers, that other LA team. Who else is in the playoffs on the West side? That is a threat.
Spurs.
Spurs not even getting in.
Spurs are done.
But like the West, there's 4 to 5 legitimate teams on the West side that can knock each other off.
Not for nothing, the East is I was reading that the East is kind of worried about the Wizards because John Wall may come back and play. That changes it.
I wouldn't worry about that.
I wouldn't worry about that whole year off.
They might get a Philly. They might catch a sleep in Philly. That's a big loss if they lose to Washington.
But the rest of the Wizards kind of suck though. I'm not gonna lie.
So let's throw out picks from each side. Who do you got in the East?
I got the Lakers versus the Bucks.
That's fair.
I actually got the Clippers versus the Celtics.
I like Lakers, Celtics. Greeks upset. Says he wants to get traded to Golden State.
Oh my God!
I actually no funny. I got Lakers Celtics also. I think the Celtics are the best team in the East. Personally, I think overall, top to bottom, I think Freak just moves that needle with his individual play. But top to bottom, team wise, I think the Celtics are a better team than the Bucks.
I still can't get over that game. Jason Tatum going to work on the Lakers. You remember that? Before this whole COVID thing,
went to the Clippers too. That was his best game of the year.
Tatum was in his bag before the season got shortened.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, shout out to NBA Adam, bring him through.
Boston got no size.
They don't need size. What size for
what? They play 4 guys that are like 6'9", that are tweeners that can play like multiple
need
positions.
size against Milwaukee. If you can't keep the Greek Freak from the front of the rim, it's over.
Yeah.
But if you have 4 bodies that you can throw at him, you can.
They're not big enough, BP.
With Milwaukee, even the Lopez brothers, like they're big, but like they're not physical. You know what I mean? Like they're jump shooting bigs, bro.
Nah, Brook will give you every move. He'll block you. Rebound. He'll step out on you. Brook is nice.
Yeah, I'm 50-50 with it.
I just think that the Celtics could beat. I think the Celtics could beat anybody in the East except. I think the Bucks are just. I think the Bucks are better than them and a bad matchup.
What about Miami?
Miami might be a tough matchup for the Bucks because Bam Adebayo is actually a good defender of Greek Freak.
Yeah. Similar size, can move laterally with him.
Athletic.
Strong. So that's a good point.
And they got the attitude, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're very well coached, great system.
Yeah, I love Miami.
Everyone's physical. Yeah, man. So I'm ready. I'll be just done with my semester, so I'll be locked in July 30th.
That's what I was gonna say. We're quarantined, so we don't even got nothing to do but watch these games, at least until end of August. You know?
Yeah. Right. Also, a good thing I'm hearing, like they're saying there could be anywhere to like 6 games a day. Like with this new schedule starting, so we're starting at Christmas.
I love summer
it's like
league.
Christmas every day.
League.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm interested to see. Man, like I feel like Bron knows, man, that if he don't get it done this year, it might be slow.
You know who coming next year, so you gotta get it done this year.
And I'm nervous if our Lakers don't get it done, that AD walks. I'm gonna be honest.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm nervous.
I just know Kawhi is gonna get it, so I'm not even talking. It's just
if Bron lose to Kawhi, that's crazy. Like that's.
We'll see. I'm just sitting back, relaxing.
Yeah.
We on to the next one.
Yeah, we got it because we could do this all night. So
all day.
We want to finish up with the topic that B. Simone, Instagram famous girl in the world, with her Nick Cannon interview. So she basically said that she doesn't want to date a 9-to-5 type of dude, and a lot of people feel like it was veiled under the guise of like, oh, I don't want to date a guy not making a lot of money. And she's come back and said, oh, I didn't mean it like that, but you know, the internet took it and ran with it. Shout out to Black Twitter for always giving us great content. How do you guys feel about it? I'm gonna start with Dot because Dot was a little frustrated by this. Talk to me.
Yeah, I just think
talk to me.
Like, I just feel like some of the times, man, I just get so disappointed at who we choose to make our celebrities. Like, that's not like it's just frustrating because and she tried to walk it down later. So Nick Cannon was interviewing her and she said she don't want a 9-to-5 dude. And he said, what's wrong with a 9-to-5 dude? And then at that point she says, do you need the CEO of the business? She says she needs the CEO. And then when she got the backlash, that's a funny word today, Zine, backlash.
Yeah, I know, right?
She tried to walk it down and said, oh, she only wants a dude with an entrepreneur mindset. Like,
Yeah.
like, what are you saying? So it's just like that's just like kind of like a lot of people look down on. I think a lot of people when they think 9-to-5, they think you're going in and you're working like, and no disrespect to somebody that works in the factory, but there's just like you're just like the factory line, like you're just processing shit all day, like you're just going down the assembly line. And a 9-to-5 isn't that at all. Like you could make very good money, you can make life-changing money, you can have generational wealth from a 9-to-5. I happen to love my 9-to-5. I don't feel like I'm working a lot of the time. I love what I do. I love the perks that come with my job. And as far as like generational wealth, like I'm not by no means rich, but what I do, I'll give you an example of what I'm able to do because of my 9-to-5. I was able to purchase a 2-family house at the age of 26. More. So like when I first graduated from college, my parents for the most part are not from this country. So they had to work very hard to achieve or give me certain things or to achieve the lifestyle that they wanted. So out of college, I didn't have my first car until I was 21 and I had to save up to buy that car. So what I do now, the fact that due to my 9-to-5, every year I put $1,000 away. So when my daughter's 21 years old and she's ready to go out there and start the world, she has $21,000 to spend. She could put that towards a house. She could put that towards if she wants a car, if she wants to start a business, she can do that. So it's just to kind of say that, like, you know, you want it already made. And she gave an excuse like, when I'm thinking at 3 a.m., I want somebody.
Yeah, they won't know my lifestyle or something like
I'm
that.
thinking.
Yeah.
So people with 9-to-5, Josh, you're a director. Zine, you're a dean. You know what I'm saying? You don't just
guys stay up,
hours of 9-to-5. You think about what you're gonna do, how you can better your job all throughout your day. That's what makes you a strong leader. Like you may be thinking when you're laying down at night watching TV at midnight, oh, I want to implement this in our meeting. This will make us better. So I just think her whole mindset and how she tried to backtrack. I just get so frustrated sometimes with these people that have certain platforms that don't have really much talent. Is that they put something out there and because they have that big of a platform for whatever reason, they start to influence people and make people think that that's the norm. So that's what I found wrong with it.
So, Doc, I think when she was saying that, I think she was trying to find a nice way. I agree with you to the point that she's saying that she wants somebody with money, but I think what she was saying, she wants a certain type of lifestyle. And I'm going to break down this type of lifestyle that I feel like she was trying to say without openly saying it. She wanted somebody either of a rapper status, of a drug dealer status, or of a sports playing status. Those are all people that pretty much have freedom, autonomy to do what they want outside of their jobs or whatever they do to make money. Again, it's a job that is not, I wouldn't say a leisure job, but a job where you may do these 2 hours and then your day is yours, or you know what I mean? And I think in a way she was trying to hint at those type of occupations without sounding ignorant or sounding ghetto or sounding like a gold digger.
Thirsty.
Thirsty, exactly. And I think that's really what she was trying to get at. Because she, like you said, she tried to walk it back saying an entrepreneur, but an entrepreneur can make T-shirts. You know what I mean? You can be an entrepreneur and I made a T-shirt. You know what I mean? I could go be an entrepreneur and do that from 9 to 5. Does that make me any less rich? Does that make me any less a boss? Does that make me any less anything? No, I think she wants a certain lifestyle. And I think it was poorly articulated because I think a lot of times, I don't want to speak for all females, but I feel like females feel like men need to take care of them. And that shouldn't be the case. I try to instill in my daughter that you can do anything you want by yourself. You don't need a man for anything. And I want her to believe that at the end of the day. And I feel like a lot of women in our generation feel like they need a man to bring something to them or bring something to the table that they can't bring. When at this point, B. Simone, you're at a certain level in your life where you don't really need a man for anything. But again, this is the same persona that she kind of got famous off of, being the crazy girl or the girl that needs somebody or who's distraught and sad when her man leaves. So I just feel like it was kind of ironic that she's talking about all this boss talk, but you're the same person that became famous from being a heartbroken, scorned woman.
Yeah. No, you explained it perfectly. That's why it got me so upset, because she kept coming up with these dumb ideologies like, oh, it's not necessarily entrepreneur. Like, I know people work 9 to 5, but it's a mindset. Like, what the hell is it? Like, a lot of people that, like, you know, why can't you have a business and have a 9 to 5 too? Like, you know, what's the difference between that? So that was just my thing. You can like who you want. Like, I'm not mad at her for her preference, but just be real about it. Don't insult.
And that's the thing. I just don't think she was being real about it. Like, I think it was like one of 3 categories that she's looking: rapper, athlete, drug dealer. Like, you know what I mean? And she didn't want to outright say it, so she tried to switch it to entrepreneur and then try to give all these reasons behind it. And it's like, shorty, like, you just kind of made it yourself. So, like, pump your brakes a little bit, all right?
Let me hear Zeem take. That's Zeem girl. Let me hear Zeem take on this.
Zeem girl. I just figured her out today. Like, today, anyway. Nah, listen, it was just a dumb statement from a dumb chick who's famous for a dumb reason, and she just exposed herself. And I just want to we got to be real. There's a pocket of females who think like this, so it's not like she just spoke for a pocket of females who just want to be pampered and spoiled and, you know, live this lavish lifestyle and not work and not put in the work. And it just exposes her for the type of person that she is. Like, if I'm a parent, I'm disappointed, I'm disgusted, but she's a fool. Shout out to all my 9 to 5 people out there making that bread and doing what you got to do and waking up. Shout out to the people who do have that entrepreneur mindset. I ain't knocking you guys either, whatever that's envisioned in your life, but she's a bird. She's sloppy. She's too ugly to be even asking a question like that.
Hold up. All right. So I do agree that her statement was stupid. In that there are a lot of women out there who want more than what they bring to the table. And there's a lot of girls who look good but don't bring much tangible other than their looks. And so they try to trade on their looks. Like, okay, I look this good, so I know a dude that has it together or has bread is gonna want me. One thing about B. Simone is, though, she is talented because she's funny. I watch Wildin' Out, and she be going back and forth with DC Young Fly. She's funny, and
I don't know.
Like, her mom's her manager, and her mom and her just purchased some big building in Atlanta to build up like a studio and like offices and stuff like that. So she's not dumb. So I don't want to say that, but I will say that certain people shouldn't, like, I'm not taking what she says like serious. Like, she's like she's a funny person. She's a goofball. She's a comedian. She's an Instagram sensation. I'm not expecting depth from her. Just like how we was arguing on Instagram about Meek Mill. Meek Mill's not a dumb person. Meek Mill's a talented rapper. Meek Mill's doing good with the social justice reform. But when Meek gets himself into trouble is when he gets those Twitter fingers. You know what I'm saying? And he doesn't articulate his message properly. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, like, there are a lot of women out there who unfortunately do want someone that's going to take care of them. But, like me, I'm probably the person that's been in the dating like the most recently, right? So just my perspective on it is, there's a lot of girls out there that are just like looking for some kind of security. Like a dude that has it together, a dude that has money, because they're not sure themselves. And a lot of times you see women who are successful and who do look good and who own property or have good jobs, they're a lot more selective about who they date. And a lot of times they be single for a lot longer because they're not gonna settle for just anything. So it's like it kind of cuts both ways, but that was an asinine statement that she made. Nick can't.
Right, because I felt like, and I think even Nick, who is an entrepreneur, who is a hustler, was taken back from that because
Right.
he's just like, wait a minute, your concept, your mindset, your perception on like these type of people who do have this quote 9 to 5, you basically, you know, shitted on them and what they do in regards to uplifting a pocket of female groups who only look for these certain type of men's and deal with these ramifications that come from that type of relationship. I don't know the guy, like I said.
But
you know,
Zim,
everybody
in this chat is a quote unquote hustler. Like me,
right, and that's my mindset because
yeah,
a lot of sorry to cut you off. A lot of her backtracking was a mindset of entrepreneurship, and I'm like, damn, you could do both. Like you could have a 9 to 5, and even within that 9 to 5, have entrepreneurship and goals to do X, Y, and Z. So that's where I felt like she lost thousands of people and all that people combating her because it's like, all right, I heard what you said. Just say what you want. Like, say you want, you know, your CEO or somebody who, you know, gets paid to just sit at home or whatever the case may be, or can watch Netflix with you 3 o'clock in the morning. I could do that too, baby. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if that's the case, and still go to work and still provide and still, you know, doing X, Y, and Z. So I think that's where she just got a lot of the backlash. But she is polarizing. And this is why today was my first time I went to a page to see what I see. She did a lot of skits with Desi that I'm like, oh, that's her. Like, I didn't know, I didn't put the 2 and 2 together. So she is very talented, but she's very polarizing. And she's polarizing because she is vulnerable and will say statements that are outlandish and sometimes true or not true, but it does touch a nerve. And that right there is talent in itself. Like my man 6ix9ine, you know what I'm saying?
And my thing is, I'm big on context too, and like I feel like the context of the conversation. I want people to actually like go back and watch the actual clip, of the conversation that they had, and like I feel like in that conversation, I feel like Nick Cannon was being sincere in the question, like, what kind of guys do you date? Like, it wasn't a joking matter. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's okay to be in the joking realm because that is your profession. You're a comedian. But at that time,
but she was dead ass.
Yeah, she was dead serious. And she was,
and
then she just kept compounding it.
Right.
And Nick Cannon's like kind of like trying to save it. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, why are you saying that? And she just keep going on and on and on. And I feel like she was dead serious about it. I didn't think there was nothing joking in her response at all.
This strike 2 for her, and she ain't getting a strike 3 with me. And the thing that annoys me the most about her is when when a person knows they're wrong and they try to come off, like Zim said, polarized, like she'll make these little skits and stuff, just trying to justify her reason and just saying the weirdest stuff. And it's just, I don't know. I'm just not a big, she'll never, hopefully podcasts go famous and we could have this conversation personally, but she's just not my cup of tea. And it just sparks when you make a statement like that goes like, it sparks a whole nother conversation. So I like hopped in and seen somebody write like they had agreed with her, and basically I want my man to have money. My man like needs to, that's the definition of a man. He needs to go out and he needs to provide. And then as I was reading the comments, it was like, oh, so what do you do? And the girl kept saying, oh, I'm old school, like the olden days. Like I'm the type to make sure the kids are taken care of. The beer is cracked open.
Oh, I remember that.
So I'm like, so the men can't do that? And then I'm like, yo, a lot of people always say, I hear a lot of females say, oh, they old school. But women have made great strides because back then they had to do that stuff because they weren't given the opportunity to go out and work and get some of the positions that they have today. So it's just like kind of when you say that, do you really know why grandma wasn't able to work like you are able to work now? Because she didn't have the opportunity. So you're kind of disrespecting them, you know?
That's a great point, Dot. And I think that's why a lot of the like honestly, from everything I see, a lot of female backlash. Like, you know what I mean? It was more females attacking her because they're just like, whoa, listen, don't start that narrative again. We had that whole phase and that was the trend and that was this. Now women are savages and hot girl summer. It's all about uplifting women and uniting, and we could do it on our own, and we passed the Me Too movement. Now we're on to the, don't bring us back to, oh, we're just some gold diggers and we're just looking to be lazy and opportunists and whatever the case may be. So I think that's what got the ball rolling. Because I was on Shade Room. First of all, Shade Room is messy. I really want to know the people
They get all
behind
the
Shade
time.
Room. Oh my God, they are slick with their captions, their hashtags, everything. And they leave it so open-ended. That's why the comment section is just so brazy. So shout out to whoever runs Shade Room. I know it has to be a woman. I know this is going to sound controversial, but I know it has to be a black woman who runs Shade Room. I'm sorry.
Oh man, I can't
I'm
condone
sorry.
that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hopefully it
It
is
is
a large
it?
platform. I
I
think
can't
it is.
condone.
Because it's such a
No, I don't
large
want to start no
platform.
controversy, but I
You
know it
started it.
has to be. But I think that's why a lot of backlash. So you know, all the women that was
I think this might cut a little close for you because, you know, I think that, you know, because of the circles that we move in, you know, some guys are 9 to 5, some guys are entrepreneurs.
I was gonna say that, like,
Using
you see that in Providence, like,
that term
yeah,
loosely, I think
yeah.
that it's like, I feel like you get that like,
Get him, Josh. Get him, Josh.
No.
Get him. Get to the
I can answer
business.
that. I can answer. No, it's not even. No, it's not even. It's
No,
not.
I'm
We can
fucking
talk
around.
to that. It's not
I'm
even.
messing around.
It's not even that because, like, no disrespect to nobody.
Yeah.
This you gotta understand that there's a lot of people that don't understand certain things. You know what I'm saying? So when they view something or they make a comment or something, you can't get mad at that because you're not really educated on that topic. So you can't really, so you could kind of understand as to why they would feel a certain type of way or as to why they would say certain things. This kind of upset me a little more because she knows better.
yeah,
Like,
she
you
knows
know,
better, yeah.
and she was a waitress. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Lived in her car.
well, saying that, like, you know what I'm saying? So that's what kind of bothered me. Like, if, for instance, if I seen Cardi B like shitting on 9 to 5, I get it. Like, you know what I'm saying? I get it. Like, she doesn't understand that world. She never lived that world. So how can I expect her to? You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But there's
Exactly.
like I was saying, like, there's even like some of our own homies that do what they do or whatever, like, will like really talk about us, for instance, for having a 9 to 5, or you getting that slow money, or you a school teacher, like, even like Zeem, you got friends that'll come at you like Principal Zeem, like, you know what I mean? Like saying it, like trying to make it a derogatory joke towards you, and you're like, yeah, I'm a principal, like I'm taking care of my family, like, you know what I mean? We don't see that as bad because we see it as being educated, we see it as being employed, like, but certain people see it as slow money, 9 to 5, but like it's all on your perception, man. Like, what do you see as being successful?
Yeah,
I agree. That was a good point, BP.
I'll say this: unless it's Big Meech, El Chapo, or Ace Boogie, I done never met no hustler that I know that doing something that I couldn't do. So it don't bother me. I look at that as an insecurity. That's so. Could record that, post that. That's just.
Dang, I might,
I'm with you on that.
I just wrote down the timestamp on that comment and I'm posting.
Make sure you make that my clip.
I'm like, yeah, Doc, cloth talk. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Cloth talk. That's cloth talk.
But
nah, it is. And like I said, I got a 9 to 5. You guys know I got a side hustle. I hustle. I'm a promoter by night trade. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's entrepreneurship. That's like, so that's why I said is it's like I didn't take it any way, shape, or form because there's people who think like that out there. Multiple sources
of income.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, Josh, you gotta have the real estate. Like, I got the real estate. BP's getting in the real estate. Zeem does his promoting. You know what I'm saying? So everybody, and everybody.
So everyone's a hustler. Ref,
bro,
yeah, referee.
Listen, with the real estate, refereeing, playing the stock market, working in the, I mean, yeah, I'm not like, you know, flipping packs, but I'm getting to it. So it's just like,
You're doing all right for
You
yourself.
do it all right for yourself, Max.
and we, you know, and the reason why this chat is so important, I think, to all of us and work so well is because we all motivate each other. We're all working towards goals, and we're trying to help each other get to those goals. You know what I'm saying? Damn, man. But yo, shout out to the 9-to-5ers, man. I gotta be up at 7:30 tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
9 to 5.
I've been up
baby.
6:45 every day of quarantine, baby. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, man. Like, listen, ain't nothing wrong with a 9-to-5. You know what I'm saying? I know there's dudes out there still selling nickel rocks. You know what I'm saying? Trying to rub two heads together, man. Come on. Like,
Yeah, clap for that.
so if no one has any objections, fellas, amazing job today. The podcast.
Absolutely.
Glad BP came in at the right time to talk about.
My fault about that again, fellas. Got
Oh,
caught up family situations.
Don't worry about it, man. We held you down.
For sure, man.
Appreciate y'all.
Hey, yo, Bobby, let him see your shirt.
Let me get closer for you.
Yes, sir.
We'll end it off on that note. All right, fellas.
All right, fellas.